Please rewind this cassette.
Hello, my little rewinders. Our continued suffering in 2023 is to be encapsulated in this recent news of the Flash reviews. I guess this was inevitable. I mean, did anyone not see this coming? Is this a surprise to anybody with an IQ over 85? I mean, come on. But Stephen King. But Tom Cruise. But James Gunn, he wouldn't lie to you. Why would he lie to you? It's not like the position he's in that he has interest to not tell the truth right now because they're trying to deal with this fact that the film is most likely going to be a big loss for them financially. But of course, people aren't motivated by money. There's no corruption and studio politics involved with things like this. I'm sure The Flash is a masterpiece, and the critics are just giving it mixed reviews because of Ezra Miller's controversy. I'm sure Andy Muschietti has made an all-time classic, and everybody who was excited about this will be validated for their feelings. Obviously, that's what's going to happen. This is really funny. I mean, of course James Gunn lied. Maybe he didn't lie, he just exaggerated. But all of the people that they had come out and say that this was one of the best superhero movies ever felt very sus, didn't it? It reminded me when James Cameron was promoting Terminator Genesis and he was like, it's really a great film. It's like, you're doing this as a favor for your friend. Obviously, Andy Muschietti directed the It movie, so there's the Stephen King connection. The Tom Cruise thing was just out of left field. But you just saw random people coming out saying, this film's great, this film's a classic, everybody's gonna love it, it's really good. No, don't worry about what you've heard, it's really good. Everyone's gonna go see it. Don't know if that's true. Now, to be fair, these aren't terrible reviews. 72% on Rotten Tomatoes for a DC film. I think the average DC film doesn't really get very positive reviews. So you have to look at it that way. I mean, it's not getting like awful reviews. It doesn't have like 40%. But if we look at Metacritic here, it's got an average of 60, which is not great. 60 is pretty bad. That means the average review is like a 6 out of 10, or even, maybe a little less, and it balances out overall to a 60. But you'll just see a lot of the reviews are 60, 58, 40. Stuff like The Flash is a passable multiverse superhero movie, but no amount of DC cameos can make audiences forget the awful screen actions of Ezra Miller. So right there, that critic definitely has a bias against Ezra Miller. So I do think there's a point to be made. I will say, though, that people are completely valid in having a bias against Ezra Miller and completely valid in having an issue with Warner Brothers promoting this movie despite what he's done. And I would only say that because there's been other people in the industry that have done things that I don't think is as bad as what Ezra has done. And they had to suffer a lot more. Their careers suffered a lot more. Projects were moved around a lot more. So that's all I would say. But I still think you should review the film fairly. But still, you'll see some of these other people aren't bringing it up. Like cameos and fan service are fine to have, but the story has to be there to back them up. And it's not quite there with The Flash. The good barely outweighs the bad here, at least enough for me to give The Flash a marginal recommendation. A lot of the reviews of The Flash from early screenings called it one of the greatest DC comic movies ever made. Maybe in another universe that's true. In this one, I thought it stumbled across the finish line. And see, this was very obvious to me just from the trailers and the leaks that came out. When I first read the leaks for Ant-Man and the Wasp, like a year and a half ago, I thought, well, this is all fake. There's no way this is real. I should have learned my lesson after leaks being true for so many different things. Game of Thrones, Star Wars. And then I saw the trailer for Ant-Man 3 and was like, oh, all the leaks are true. Every single one of them is in the trailer. And it was the same thing with this movie, where there was all these leaks about things that were going to happen in the movie like a year ago. And I thought, well, that movie sounds insane. They're going to bring Zod back and have the third act be Man of Steel with Supergirl, Batman, and the Flash fighting Zod and the Kryptonians. That's ridiculous. There's no nostalgia or hype about going back to Michael Shannon's Zod. Then I saw the trailer and was like, oh, never mind. I guess that's true. Some people are trying to claim Ezra Miller's great in this movie, playing a dual role of the two Barrys. I'm sure he is fine. I'm sure he's quirky and funny. Michael Keaton's Batman, I'm sure, is entertaining. But yeah, the thing that I really want to focus on here is just how Hollywood lies to you. Never believe anything you hear. Because I just saw so much coping of like, well, James Gunn keeps saying this movie's great. Why would he lie? You don't believe anything James Gunn says when it comes to the DC universe. He probably signed contracts. I mean, people don't think about this stuff. I don't know why people are so obtuse with this. Do you really think that like he can come out and say what he honestly feels about things when he's at the position he's at now with DC? No way. He has to be political about it. That's the only way to do this. It's business. If he comes out and just says, "Yeah, the Flash movie's not great. It's probably going to lose money for us," they wouldn't have him working there. So he has to come out and say, it's one of the best superhero movies ever. Even when Stephen King was saying it was good, he jumped on there and was like, it is. But you'll see here with a lot of the reviews, a lot of 2 out of 5s, 2.5 out of 4, C plus, C minus. Now, some people are giving it good reviews, but if you see also, they're like 7 out of 10s or 6 out of 10s. A reasonably entertaining multiverse themed superhero adventure. The best chemistry in the whole film is the one that Ezra Miller has with Ezra Miller. Flash is more of an homage to what the DC universe was rather than a reset button, because they kept hyping up how this was going to be some kind of big reset that fixed the timeline, which I think was another kind of like cope. So here we are with the film that cost, from what we know, $250 million, if not more. The marketing, I think, has been abysmal. They've just been trying to milk Michael Keaton nostalgia to get people to go see it. I don't see how this movie makes $800 million or $1 billion, which I think is probably what it needed to make. It might be able to make $500 million, but I really think this could just be an outright bomb. I think this movie could open to like 70 million and not even make $200 million domestically. I could be wrong. I'm open to being wrong. Maybe it'll connect with people. I'm not sure. But yeah, there's just a lot of damage control going on because they knew the Ezra situation was bad. This movie had a ton of reshoots. It had all sorts of issues behind the scenes that weren't covered that heavily by the mainstream press. And this is the situation we're in. Also, it's just a play on like Days of Future Past or Endgame, time travel, multiverse stuff, No Way Home. We've already seen a lot of this. The gimmick that this movie's trying to sell you has been overplayed, I think, already within the last 3 or 4 years. So I don't think it's that exciting to go, oh wow, a Flash movie that has multiverse ramifications and two Barry Allens and an alternate universe Batman. Because originally this was supposed to just be a Flashpoint adaptation, and then they changed it around to make it its own thing. And at one point, Lord and Miller were involved with this movie, and now we have Andy Muschietti, the director of the It movies. But it's a well-trod territory at this point, even for a speedster. Taken on its own merits, Andy Muschietti's film has a lot to offer and frequently shows flashes, apologies, of brilliance that set it a cut above most of its existing DC Universe brethren, but that's still a B minus. So at best, everyone's saying this is like a B movie. And I don't think that's what they wanted. Once again, I don't know if this movie is bad. I don't know if it's not entertaining. I haven't seen the film. I want to make that very clear. I'm just saying that a lot of people were hyping it up as one of the best superhero films ever, and that it was going to change DC forever, and that it was fantastic and emotional and funny and cool. And apparently the film's pretty messy. Does that mean that critics are always right and you should automatically listen to them? No, absolutely not. But I would say I'm inclined to believe this a little bit more than people who work in the industry or are friends with people who worked on this film, is what I would say. So just never believe that stuff. That's a lesson to take here. James Gunn's a liar. He will always be a liar, and there's nothing wrong with that because he's literally held hostage. He can't tell the truth, even though he tries to act like he's that kind of guy. Don't buy it. So the question is here, what happens to The Flash? The reviews are mid. The tracking is not great. Ezra Miller was doing no promotion for it. I've hardly even seen like Michael Keaton doing interviews or anything. They've really like cut down the promotional ties with this movie. I just don't see this doing well. I really don't. And I think this will just continue where we're going with a lot of superhero franchises. Obviously, Spider Verse did well, Guardians 3 is doing well, there's exceptions. But a lot of these superhero movies right now, in particular DC's universe, is at the end of its run. And hopefully, James Gunn can do something to retool it and fix it. And we can get some better movies and they can do better. I'm not against that. I would like to see a good Superman movie. I would like to see good Batman movies. I'd like to see, and the Aquaman sequel's coming out this year with James Wan, and we don't know how that's going to do or how that's been handled. I mean, I haven't even seen anything on that movie yet, and it comes out this year. So it's all very curious. It's all very curious, but there was no universe where this film accidentally became great. I think maybe the surprise to some people is that despite the production and everything that was going on, that the movie isn't horrible, that it's actually kind of okay. I think that's what a lot of the sentiment was. Is like, oh, this isn't a piece of shit. It's an okay generic movie, but that doesn't translate to it being a great movie that's going to change your perception of the DC universe. I think it's just a continuation of what was already happening and leftovers from Zack Snyder's run over there. I don't have much more to say here. Just leave your opinion in the comments. Are you excited for this movie? What do you think about all the random people coming out trying to promote it, including Tom Cruise? Did they send Tom Cruise a check for like $10 million? What the fuck is that about? And beyond that, do you think the film's going to perform well? What are your projections for opening weekend? I guess I'm gonna guess somewhere around like 60, 70 million on a high end. I don't really see this opening to $100 million. So who knows? But thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here with me. And I will say this: current superhero films starring a lead actor who in real life is a psychopath. This is probably the best one.